Everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. I'm looking forward to talking to Jon Louizes, right? I think I
Got
got
it.
that right. Yeah. So, Jon, I appreciate one, I'm appreciating this conversation, but I really appreciate the fact that you sent myself and my family just like buckets of the world's greatest taffy.
Thank you.
You were the 2018 Manufacturer of the Year, third generation candy and ice cream maker, chief legacy officer at Zeno's Boardwalk Sweet Shop. And, I think we're going to talk family business, and we're going to be talking candy. So since 1976, the year you were born, you've been fortunate enough to be part of this amazing family owned business. You started off sweeping the floors, sorting out the taffy, making sure it was all properly wrapped. And now you're involved in every facet of the business.
Correct.
So let's talk about that. So, I love candy. I would say, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, but candy is my vice. Candy is my vice. And so, in my house, we have on my kitchen counter, we have 4 glass little containers, and one has Tootsie Rolls, one has Starburst, one has wintergreen mints, and then one kind of always has different candy in it. And for the last couple of months, we finished it all, but it had your taffy in it, and it was great. So Thank you very much. Yeah. So let's talk about family business, right? Let's talk about, starting out sweeping the floors and what it's like just being in a family business. My brother and I had a family business. We had an internet company years ago, and it was amazing. It was great. I loved it. We complement each other very well. But sometimes I'd have to say to him, Jeff, don't talk to me like I'm your little brother in the next board meeting, right. So let's just talk about kind of how you grew up in the business and maybe some of the things you learned from your family.
Sure. So we're entering our 75th year right now. The business actually started in 1948, but I was born in 76. So
got it. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah.
And I took over from my dad, Zeno, and my mom, Joyce, in 2003. And so I've had it for the last going to be 20 something years coming up next year. And, we were a small candy counter on the boardwalk location in Daytona Beach. We're the world's most famous taffy because we're on the world's most famous beach. And the reason I would say for our growth, we're actually working on store number 9 right now. And the reason I would say we've had the opportunity to grow as a retailer and both as a manufacturer, but more for a retailer is out of fear, because we got hit with hurricanes in Florida as we typically do. But in 2004, we got hit with 3 back. And at that time, I was content to be a single store operator, just work that store with my wife. And, that store would have provided more than enough. But the fear that this store might not be here one day, because of a natural disaster or for whatever reason, it really lit a spark in me to go ahead and try to grow the business. And, we're in a full growth mode right now, and growing is the fun part to me. I was very fortunate to be born to a business where I could put my own stamp on it. And I think that's really important when you're dealing with generational businesses. You have to allow the room for the next generation to do something awesome with it. And my parents, handed me a home run store, and of all of the failures I've had, and I've had many failures, that little store has funded the growth and the operations of all the other successes that we've had to now, where it's just another income stream and not our sole income stream.
Yeah. I love it. Let's talk about, that, because I think in leadership, as we see multiple generations in companies right now, I work with solopreneurs to Fortune companies, everything in between, all size companies. And I think one of the things we're seeing, a time that we haven't seen this, where there's up to 5 generations within company walls today. And everybody has different ways of thinking and coming to the table. But finding your voice it can be challenging. And I want to talk about your parents, because what did they do? I think it's also a leader's responsibility to create the space for others to have their voice without them worrying that they're going to get fired. And so, so Just kind of walk us through that a little bit.
Sure. So as a father, my dad was the best at it. My mom's an angel. I've never had an argument with my mother, I don't think, in my entire life. And if we ever did, I was in the wrong. So let
Yeah.
me clear that up. But my dad, as a father, was the greatest father in the world. But when it came to working in that business, we would butt heads all the time. My mother will tell you, I've got an older brother, a little bit of a troublemaker. I was angel. My mom would have 100 of me. But when it came to actual work in the store, my dad and I would butt heads all the time. And, I would work for him. And I remember graduating college from UF thinking I was going to be some big shop business owner or whatever, gonna boss everyone around, even though I worked in that store my entire life. I come back from school and the people that have been working there changed my diapers. And so, it's going to be hard for me all of a sudden to boss them around. I realized I was low man on the totem pole once again. And it wasn't until my dad and I had a couple arguments to where I couldn't work with him anymore. And this was right around 9/11. And I told him I was going to move to Atlanta. I got a job with Apple computers up there. And then eventually I got another job working as a pharmaceutical rep in Chicago. And before I actually sailed off to Chicago, or flew off to Chicago, I should say, I have a feeling Atlanta he thought was still close enough to if he needed me to come back, I could come back. But I think he knew if I went to Chicago, I was never coming back. And I had always wanted to be a candy maker. I love that part of the business. We have some gift shops too, like touristy gift shops where they sell the shot glasses and the T-shirts and mugs and all that stuff. I can't do that. But once I got the job in Chicago, he goes, I'll rent you out the store. He's like, he wanted me back. I'm his baby boy. He wanted me there. And so what happens, I came back, met my wife right around that time. And her and I are one of those rare combos that we actually work very well together. And so we're a very good team. Exactly kind of what you're saying. You and your brother, we fit each other very well. And my business partner now for the growth is actually her brother. And he's nice. The numbers and financial guy. And I'm more of the ideas and the candy maker and production and, I guess scout locator. He handles all the day to day. I find the stores, I open them up, and then he runs them pretty much. Nice. And, the biggest, my dad was completely out of the candy shop, but he had the adjacent gift shop. So he would still manage to come inside. The candy store is his baby. That was his thing. Like, that was his number one, his family, his friends, music, and the business are his top four loves in his life. And they could alternate any day which one was number one. So
right.
Any argument I ever had with him was him coming to tell my crew members what to do, or something and they would defy me. They would do what he wanted, and as opposed to me, and we would just argue until I think finally he would tell everyone else how proud he was of me and what a great job I'm doing. And I've done stuff that he never would have imagined. But at the end of the day, I think he still always saw me as that 5-year-old little boy. And I think it's funny that my son Zeno, who's 14 now, and could be sooner, but in 5-6 years, him and his brother CJ are going to be telling me I don't know stuff about the candy business. And and it's just, that's how it goes. And my dad instilled a very hard work ethic in me, and I'm trying to do the same for my sons. I had an amazing life growing up. My kids have an even better life than I did. So it's really important that I stress to them. And Zeno started working the last 2 summers, and I told him it's his name on the building, not mine. It's not John's boardwalk sweet shop, it's Zeno's. And if you're not going to be the hardest worker in here, I still clean the bathrooms. I make sure I do things once a week that everyone still sees me, no matter what store I'm at or whatever the factory I'm at, that I still do the menial stuff, because if I can do it, there's no reason why you can't do it either.
Yeah. I love it. I love the family. I love the lineage, all the how many Zenos are there?
So there was my dad who passed away in 2019, and then there's my Zeno. So, but my dad had uncles, and it's so funny. It's not a common name at all. And in Greece, it's not common whatsoever. But in my dad's hometown of 3,000 people, there's 40 or 50 Zenos in there. It's like, it must have been a real famous Zeno back in the day. And then, they all stayed there. So it's my job to spread that name out to the world, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think it's your middle name I saw in your bio.
Correct.
Yeah. Yep. So it seems to kind of, all right. So let's talk about, candy. I'm curious, as here we are. We're recording this as a web show on November 3rd, 2022. This will make it in the podcast, in the next couple of weeks. Are people eating more candy now or less candy, right? I mean, here we are coming through, the pandemic. We're in a recession. The Fed is raising interest rates. There's inflation. In those times, do people buy more candy because they're stressed or less candy because they're conserving cash? How does that affect your business?
So, I'm very lucky in the sense that I work in a business and have a business that is not as price sensitive as some fancier items. So, our original location, all our locations are pretty much beachside destinations. We got stores in St. Augustine, Madeira Beach, all around Florida, Clearwater area. And, if when times are tough, you might not go out for a $60 steak dinner, but you're going to take your kids out for an ice cream cone and to get some candy as well. So Daytona has always been what I believe the best bang for buck vacation you can go to anywhere in the state of Florida. And when the times are bad, it's really weird. When the times are bad, the Floridians, we're very lucky. We have a beautiful beach and we're in Florida, and there's a lot of people with money in Florida. But when times are bad, those Floridians that would maybe go somewhere far stay in Florida. And so we still have that pool of people. They're going to vacation somewhere, and we have that pool of people to pull from. But when things are great, people who are living elsewhere come to Florida, and the Floridians might go somewhere else. So, since COVID, being in Florida, we opened up a little faster than everybody else. And we were able to really capitalize on that because people were just ready to get out, and so 2020, the summer after COVID was the busiest year we've ever had. And it's just a culmination, but 2020 was one of the worst years we ever had. So it evened out, but it was the worst year we had ever had. So, but people, we're usually in vacation towns, and in vacation mode, you're not so much looking at your diet. You're not worried about your sugar. You're not worried about stuff. You're going to town. And I'm just like you. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do anything, but I'll eat 4 scoops of ice cream every day. And not scoops at a time, just one spoon in case every day. So I love when I heard you say that. Yeah.
There's a store, I'll go into a candy store here locally. If we go to some random city here locally, and I'll say, God, if we were out of town right now, I would have spent $200 here. Right. Because you're just more apt to. But I love, one of my favorite things that my family knows is when we're out of town, if they see a candy store or I see a candy store, even though my kids are 16 and 19, soon to be 17 and 20, I want to buy as much candy as I can.
John, you and I are kindred spirits because we road trip a lot and we go to visit family in Pennsylvania all the time.
Yeah.
And we plan our stops where we know have the best bakeries or sweet, the junk, 80,000 calories in a, 10-hour drive.
So, totally.
You are preaching to the choir, and I'm totally on the same boat with you on that one.
Yeah. Let's talk about, I'm just curious about, you have caramels and fudge and caramel corn and peanut brittle and, all, and the world's most famous taffy. You have all of these different things. What's your favorite?
So at the end of the day, I guess I'm just a big ice cream guy. I say that, but let me brag about the taffy first of all, because I've had great ice cream from other companies. I love ice cream. To me, there's
you guys make your own ice cream?
Yeah, we make our own ice cream. So we are a manufacturer. We supply other stores as well, but we make our own ice cream. I've had great ice creams elsewhere. I've had great chocolates elsewhere. I've had great fudge elsewhere. So it's not me, but the taffy that we make is I've never had as good as anyone else, from anyone else, I should say. So it's not me being biased or opinionated. I think my stuff is great. In fact, there's some candies I don't make because I can't make them as good as I got them from somewhere else. And I don't want people coming into my store trying this and going, well, the other place is better. So apparently whatever they make here, the other place makes everything better. That's how people think. So I'd rather just not make, in Savannah and Charleston and New Orleans are famous for their pralines or pralines, however you pronounce them. Mine aren't as good, so I don't make them. And so I'm fine with that. But of all the things we make, ice cream all day, every day. People can't believe I don't weigh 400 pounds, and it's incredible. So definitely ice cream. But of the candy itself, I'm a big fan of our Buster Bears. It's basically like a taffy outside with a gummy bear in the middle, and it's like my favorite thing. So
all right, good,
really
good. Those sound really good. All right, good. Well, your ice cream sounds good. I'll have to get to a live location.
Yeah, give you a tour. Point. Yeah, come down anytime.
Yeah, at some point to get it. Last question before we go into a speed round. You've grown your business to 9 stores, and I think somebody who is thinking about starting a business today, or has maybe 1 store or 2 stores, and they're thinking, God, I really want to scale. Right? Give us the 1 or 2 minute version on scaling a business, especially when the business is something that some people may think, well, there's already a saturated market in this, and I'm not suggesting for your, so the mindset and how you got over it, and then how you scaled, and just the give us the 2-minute master's class, Jon.
Sure. So I would say 99.9% of my working life was working for my parents or myself. Like, there's like I told you, that brief period where I went and worked like for Apple, but I'm 46 years old, and so I've only known working in my own business. And it wasn't until I volunteered at my church one weekend. I'm Greek, and we have a Greek festival every year where we cook Greek foods, and the whole community from town comes to visit. And it wasn't until one day where, like, my second day in, after like a 4-hour shift, I got tired, and I was like leaning up against the wall, and I'm like, man, I'm tired. But when I'm in my own business, I'll go 12 hours and not even take a break. I won't eat. People like amazed, like I don't stop and eat, and because I'm just so focused on the task in hand. But it was that break where I realized, oh, this is what it's like for everybody else. Because when it's not your own passion or your own like dream or whatever like that, it's just another obligation or a job. So I would always get like frustrated why people can't hit certain numbers when it comes to production or doing their chores or responsibilities that they're supposed to do. Because I can do 10 batches in a day. Why can't they do 10 batches in a day? Well, guess what? They can't. They don't want to. They don't have to. It's not their business. So there was like a mind shift, I should say, that came upon me where if I can get anyone to do 75% of what I can do, then that person is a home run. You keep them, you take care of them, and they will do wonders for you. Because I've been very blessed and lucky that I've had friends of mine, they're basically my best friends because we've been working together so long, but friends that have been working 5, 10, and 20 years right along my side, and they have seen the growth from the start, and I've made them a part of it. In terms of, if I'm doing better, everyone's doing better. I love sharing pie when the pie is getting bigger. So I'm a man of low means. Like, I don't really need much, but basically having that mind shift of don't expect everyone that's not a business owner to care as much as you care about it. And just to remember that. And it's amazing once you start empowering them and telling them, oh my goodness, you did 75% of what I can do. That's incredible. It's almost as good as me. It's amazing how that 75% turns into 80%, 85%. Not like, you just need to give yourself that room to let that person, if they're good at what they're going to do, grow. And no ego. Like, if you're better at me in something, I'm never upset at that. So go do it, go do your job, and let me go run and open more stores and sell more candy. So I would say that was like the number one key.
All right, good. Thank you for that. All right, quick speed round. Book that's had the biggest impact on you.
As an entrepreneur, I'd say it's called The E-Myth Revisited. It's a quick weekend day read. It's like it was talking to me, because in the book he's dealing with a lady that wants to open up a bakery. So it's if you're trying to open up your own business or you run your own business, I've recommended. It's like the only book I've read in the last 25 years since I've been out of high school. So
it's a great book, Michael Gerber. It's a great book. I'm a business coach. I work with business owners and managers and salespeople and C-level execs, and I always recommend that book. I think it's such a must read. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
My dad, don't open up if you own a restaurant and the dishwasher doesn't show up, guess who's washing the dishes? Like,
Yeah.
so like, that's something
Right.
they don't really teach you in business school. And I remember being at UF, I'm like, you guys teach theory and stuff, and it's right. I was like, but I never had one teacher tell me that. Like, everyone
Right.
thinks that opening a business is, rainbows and like unicorns, but it's a lot of
Yeah.
doing that menial task that you don't expect to do, that you have to be able to do and want to do when someone else can't do
Yeah.
it.
Amen to that. Last question, John, finish this sentence. One thing every entrepreneur needs to focus a little bit more on in 2023 is?
A little more in 2002. I would say just in general, what everyone needs to focus on is picking the right partner or group to grow your business with. I was very
Yeah.
fortunate in the sense that my wife, like, hey, they don't tell you this, who you pick to marry is the most important business decision you're ever going to make in your entire life, and
Yeah.
especially when you own the business. And so my wife, is the brains and everything of the org. I'm more of the face, she's more of the responsibility, and the same, and that's for our few stores that we own together.
Right.
But for my brother-in-law that we own the other stores out of our county, we work very well together, and it's just surrounding yourself with an awesome team that complement each other.
I love it. John, it's a pleasure getting to know you. I really
too,
appreciate your team. As a business coach, I have this podcast. I work with successful people who are stuck, and I get them unstuck, from solopreneurs to Fortune companies, everything in between. And what I love about it is I bring on guests that can get people unstuck. And Think Community, as you're listening to what John has talked about today, there's a lot to help you get unstuck in your business. I'm going to extract one thing, because I always think it's good to take one thing and maybe shelve the rest for later. One thing is, make sure you have the right business partners. So many people get into business people and their gut tells them, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And they do it. And you got to make sure that you have the right business partner. You got to make sure you hire greats, only great, don't settle, because every person in your business is going to help you elevate not only the business, but the experience of everybody who walks in the door. So I appreciate your insights, John, today. Tell everybody where they can connect with you. I know they can go to worldsmostfamoustaffy.com, but tell everybody else where they can connect with you and learn more about Zeno's.
Sure. So, of course, the website, like you mentioned, worldsmostfamoustaffy.com. And I'm a big poster on LinkedIn. I always post content on there. My name is Jon Zeno Louizes. It's funny, I don't sell anything on LinkedIn. I just post videos of us, like our core values, our family, fun, and legacy. So I always like to have fun in everything it is that we do. And so it's amazing, by posting just stuff and not selling anything, how many people approach me to come buy products from me, and it's selling by not selling. So I was very lucky to be born in an environment where I didn't have to knock on doors.
Yeah,
People can just find me online.
it's great. All right, everybody, check out John on LinkedIn or worldsmostfamoustaffy.com. You can check if you need anything from me or want to talk coaching, jondwoskin.com. John, this was great. Appreciate it. Thanks again for the candy. Thanks again for the wisdom and the time, and all the best to you and your family and the candy business. So
thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
You got it.